In the shadowy world of Jeffrey Epstein, the most haunting question has never been about his guilt, but about the powerful men who stood beside him. For years, we've been told the investigation hit a dead end with his death. But what if the FBI is sitting on a treasure trove of evidence, a list of names that could shake the very foundations of the global elite? And what if they are actively choosing not to act on it? This isn't a conspiracy theory, it's the central conflict that played out in a stunning congressional hearing.
So, I've got 4 documents I'd like to introduce into the record. The first one is Jeffrey Epstein's sick story played out for years in plain sight. And Acosta is quoted in here saying, "I was told Epstein belonged to intelligence and to leave it alone." The second document is entitled, "What Epstein's Bodyguard Warned About His CIA Connections." The third document is from Fox Digital. It's titled, "Epstein's Private Calendar Reveals Planned Meetings with Obama Admin Official CIA Chief." And the last document is Wall Street Journal article that highlights Ehud Barak's 36 meetings with Jeffrey Epstein. He was the former Prime Minister of Israel and head of military intelligence for Israel. It may have held that title when he met Epstein, and then, yes.
Without objection, the gentleman will hold for a second. The gentleman from Maryland is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just one UC request. This is Judge Engelmeyer's decision from August in U.S. versus Epstein, stating the government's 100,000 pages of Epstein files dwarfs the 70-odd pages of Epstein grand jury materials.
Without objection, the gentleman from Kentucky is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Director Patel, I watched some of your Senate hearing yesterday when Senator Kennedy asked you, "You've seen most of the files. Who, if anyone, did Epstein traffic these women to besides himself?" You replied, according to the transcript, "There is no credible information that he trafficked them to anyone else." You also said somewhere in the hearing and here today that the problem is that the case files are constrained by limited search warrants from 2006 to 2007, and that the non-prosecution agreement hamstrung future investigations. Those constraints only apply to Southern District of Florida. They do not apply to Southern District of New York, the location of the 2019 sex trafficking indictment, which produced many things, including a series of FD 302 documents. According to victims who cooperated with the FBI in that investigation, these documents in FBI possession, your possession, detail at least 20 men, including Mr. Jess Staley, CEO of Barclays Bank, who Jeffrey Epstein trafficked victims to, victims including minors, such as Virginia Roberts Giuffre, may she rest in peace. That list also includes at least 19 other individuals, one Hollywood producer worth a few $100 million, one royal prince, one high-profile individual in the music industry, one very prominent banker, one high-profile government official, one high-profile former politician, one owner of a car company in Italy, one rock star, one magician, at least 6 billionaires, including a billionaire from Canada. We know these people exist in the FBI files, the files that you control. I don't know exactly who they are, but the FBI does. Have you launched any investigations into any of these people, and have you seen these 302 documents?
Sir, I have asked my FBI agents to review the entirety of the Epstein files and bring forth any credible information, and we're working with Congress not only to divulge that information and produce it to you, but any investigations that arise from any credible investigation will be brought. There have been no new materials brought to me launching a new indictment.
So is the loophole here, or is it your assertion that these victims aren't credible, that the 302s maybe didn't produce credible statements that rise to a probable cause?
It's not my assertion, sir. It's the assertion of 2 different United States attorneys' offices from 3 separate administrations who investigated those same materials in lifetime.
Are the 302 documents in the FBI's possession?
They reviewed all that, yes, sir.
And so have you reviewed those 302 documents where the victims name the people who victimized them?
If I personally know, but the FBI has.
So how can you sit here and in front of the Senate and say there are no names?
I said
I named one today.
I said We are not in the practice at the Department of Justice FBI of releasing victims' names. That is not what we do. We are also not in the habit of releasing incredible information. That's not what we do. But multiple authorities have looked at the entirety of what we have.
Okay, I got to move on here. Were you present when the AG had the White House event when she released the binders to the social media influencers?
I was, yes.
So if you're willing to meet with social media influencers who stood to benefit from the sensational and sad stories of these victims, will you meet with the victims as well?
The FBI will meet with anyone who has new information.
Will you personally meet with them?
The FBI and the professionals who are handling the cases will.
Were you instructed that it was important to release the documents to the Oversight Committee on the day of my introduction of the discharge petition to release these files?
I don't know what day that was, so no.
Well, they were released that day, and there were victims' names who weren't redacted because they were in such a rush, and the victims are not happy about that. Have you investigated any of the CIA connections? Have you seen the CIA file on Jeffrey Epstein? And if you wanted to see it, would they show it to you?
Well, I can speak for the FBI, and that's presuming there's a CIA case file, and I've reviewed everything that the interagency, not I, the FBI, that was provided to us.
Would you be willing to look at the CIA file on Jeffrey Epstein?
If there is such a file, and if it has not already been turned over to the FBI will look at any new investigative leads.
Have you made any progress on the pipe bomb investigation January 6th? And have you made any progress on the motive of the Las Vegas shooter?
As to the first, it's an ongoing investigation, and we have made progress. As to the second, sir.
What we just witnessed was not a simple Q&A session. It was a masterclass in strategic confrontation and bureaucratic deflection. The congressman's strategy was to lay an undeniable public record. He wasn't just asking questions. He was presenting evidence, referencing specific FBI documents known as FD 302 seconds. An FD 302 is an official report an agent writes after interviewing a witness. For the audience, it's crucial to understand that these aren't just rumors. They are formal records of victim testimony held by the FBI. The congressman methodically listed the types of powerful men named in these files: a prince, a banker, a Hollywood producer, to demonstrate the sheer scale of the allegations and to corner the director. The goal was to force a direct answer. Why have none of these individuals been investigated when the victims' testimonies were credible enough to indict Epstein himself? The director's response was a clinic in institutional defense. Notice his careful choice of words. He repeatedly falls back on the phrase credible information. He claims that multiple U.S. attorneys' offices have reviewed the files and decided not to proceed. This is a classic bureaucratic maneuver. It shifts responsibility away from himself and the FBI, placing the decision on faceless prosecutors from past administrations. He deflects the question about the perpetrators by pivoting to the policy of protecting victims' names, a noble sentiment that was entirely irrelevant to the question being asked. He was asked about the abusers, not the abused. This evasion is the heart of the matter. When directly asked if he has personally reviewed the documents where victims name their abusers, his answer is unclear. This hesitation suggests that there is a gap between what the raw evidence says and what the institution is willing to officially acknowledge. This entire exchange highlights three critical themes. First, the conflict between documented evidence and institutional will. The files exist, the names are in them, but they are dismissed as not credible enough to launch new investigations. Second, the theme of accountability. The congressman is arguing that justice is not just about prosecuting a single kingpin, but dismantling the entire network that enabled him. The director's responses, however, suggest a desire to contain the scandal and close the book. Finally, the lingering question of intelligence community involvement. The hearing began with documents suggesting Epstein was connected to intelligence. The director's non-committal answer about a potential CIA file does nothing to quell these suspicions, adding a disturbing layer of possible state-level protection to the case. This isn't just about one hearing or one criminal case. It's about a two-tiered system of justice. For the average person, an accusation backed by official witness statements would trigger a swift and thorough investigation. But when the names belong to billionaires, politicians, and royals, the standards of credibility suddenly become impossibly high. Think of it like this. The FBI has a map with multiple X's marking buried treasure, but they are claiming that only the first X they dug up was real. and they have no intention of checking the others, despite having the map in their hands. This erodes public trust not only in the FBI, but in the principle that all are equal before the law. The Epstein saga suggests that some are far more equal than others, protected by a wall of institutional inertia and carefully chosen words. So, what are the key takeaways from all of this? First, the FBI is in possession of official documents in which victims have named approximately 20 powerful individuals who allegedly participated in Jeffrey Epstein's sex trafficking network. Second, the official reason no new investigations have been launched against these men is the assertion that the information, which came from victims, is not credible, a term that the Department of Justice has failed to adequately define in this context. And third, the evasive answers regarding potential CIA involvement and the director's own familiarity with the evidence suggest a deep reluctance to pursue leads that could incriminate some of the most powerful people in the world. This leaves us with a deeply unsettling question. Is the failure to investigate Epstein's powerful associates a matter of procedural caution and high evidentiary standards, or is it a deliberate choice to protect the guilty? What do you think? Let us know in the comments below. And if you found this analysis helpful, be sure to like, subscribe, and share this video.